Are you ready for the Low Blows Network? Every Wednesday on the Low Blows Network, the Low Blows team are at hand to break down, analyze, and make fun of all things pro wrestling. Hosted by former pro wrestler Rick Nash. I think the only reasonable thing we can do now is turn John Cena heel.
Selfie with me fucking Doug.
Banned from Nigeria. I will be talking to the government tomorrow morning.
YouTube star Corporate King.
This elephant has 4 legs. Joe Russell's 4 legs. Joseph Stalin, if he had 2 more legs.
Bonesaw rips off his shirt, yeah, and it says, "Chuck your law, big dirty tricorder."
And the Queen of Irish Wrestling, Katie Harvey.
I want one society, just CM Punk.
So embarrassed. CM Punk.
It's Low Blows.
Congratulations to Tyrone, who, poor Mayo, put an absolute beating on a Mayo team who had done the hard part. They had ended Dublin's dynasty in the semi-finals after losing so many finals to them over the years. So much bad luck. They played the game of their lives and then absolutely balled it when it came to the finals. So they got the exact same outcome as beforehand. They just got to beat Dublin along the way. But as we get kicked off here, on another edition of Low Blows, Rick Nash, Katie Harvey, Corporate Keen in the house as always. Guys, who in wrestling is clearly cursed and why? Katie, we'll start with you.
Well, I thought this would be a real obvious answer, but like wrestling as a whole is cursed. Just everything in it, everyone is cursed. It's sorry, am I letting
It's getting very real.
Yeah,
it's
very
getting,
real.
It's getting very bleak, like, straight away.
Well, I thought that was better than singling out one particular person as being a curse.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. There's no good answer to this, but like I did ask specifically who.
One person.
Yeah.
And then you asked, did you pick yourself? Which I suppose is also an applicable answer. So if you don't want me to say wrestling as a whole, we'll go with me then.
Okay, fair enough. That's okay. That's fine.
I have loads of answers for this. But Wade Barrett is the answer I'm thinking of. Like he's absolutely cursed. He tries something in WWE and it's like, oh, this is gonna be deadly, and then you get injured, and then he tries again, he gets injured again, and then he tries bad news. You know what I mean? Like the bad news Barrett stuff was so funny, and then he got injured again. You know what I mean? He just kept getting injured, and now he's a commentator. But he had so much talent. Like he's one of the people who I'm like, when I look at wrestlers whose careers have been like completely fucking torn apart with injuries, I'm like, that's probably like top of the list for me. Wade Barrett could have been a world champion. So obviously there's people out there who have had like worse luck, but what I mean is that like if we're talking like consistently like bad things or like sort of shite luck as opposed to like one really horrible thing, it'd probably be Wade Barrett.
Okay, interesting stuff. Guys, busy week to come. We had All Out last week and now WWE were put in the corner and asked to come out swinging. Did they do so? We're going to be discussing it. They certainly had big news. They had, of course, their return to Madison Square Garden on SmackDown. A lot of controversy around that though as well, and they had a Money in the Bank cash-in which they telegraphed. We're going to be discussing that as we go on, and then a relaunch of NXT. So how did it all go? How are WWE sitting in kind of the war now that AEW has kind of turned up the stakes? We're going to be discussing it all, but first we're going to get kicked off as we always do with the news, because ladies and gentlemen, it's time for
Queen versus King.
Queen versus Keen, because my two co-hosts are good friends, they're even better enemies. So what we do to discuss the wrestling news of the week is we pick the top 5 stories of the week. We put 30 seconds on the clock and I ask my co-hosts for their hot takes on it, and we get points for punditry. We've been keeping score as the year has gone on. Keen had raced out into a formidable lead, 3 points ahead at 16-13. Of course, last time we did this, Katie ended up firing back, so Could this be a comeback, or was last week just an anomaly? We shall find out as we go. Keane, you're going to go first this week, and first we're going to get kicked off with the PWI 500 that was released last week and named Kenny Omega number 1 with Roman Reigns and Lashley right behind him. Kota Ibushi was the top non-WWE or AEW name in 5th, and Ireland's own Finn Balor was in 8th. But I want you to hit me with your PWI 500 annual hot take, though.
It's an absolute fucking disgrace, right? The one thing when we look at the PWI 500, what are we looking at? We're looking at the top 458. Those are the real prestigious spots there. The top 458. And who do I see sitting in position number 459? Only Lorcan. And that's what, obviously, I hate to go for the obvious. I know everybody knew I was going to say that. But, like, it is really the biggest travesty of the entire thing. He's in behind Dan Maloney. He's in behind Sal Bernaro. He's in behind Jesse Goddard. What has Jesse Goddard done in years? I don't know. Yet only Lorcan is 459 despite all his talent. Absolute disgrace. I'm fucking raging over it.
He was a tag team champion during the year, wasn't he? An NXT tag team champion.
Former NXT tag team champion, that is correct.
Where was Eric Rowan?
I was too scared to check. I didn't want to think, because I mean, isn't it like, what's the time frame? Is it like, what month are we in now? September?
Yeah.
So it'd go back, like, his release from WWE wouldn't, like, that was before the time period. So, and he's done nothing since then. So I'm like, I'm not even checking it. I don't want to check it.
That's fair. Katie, annual PWI 500 hot take.
So there was women in with the 500 this year. Okay, usually get their own list. I don't have an issue with that. I mean, women equality, yay. My issue is, out of the 29 women in the PWI 500, not a single 500?
No, you said PWU.
Phil Boyd is in it 11 times.
No, it's not the PWI 500. I have an actual point to make.
Extra time here.
There's 29 women listed, and my issue is that not a single one of these wrestlers are WWE wrestlers. So my hot take is the PWI 500 is unfairly disadvantaging WWE in their list, because, like, if you're telling me that Charlotte hasn't had a better year than Janie Kai or Kai McKenna, I mean, I think that's probably just not true.
Yeah.
Like, Charlotte's had at least 17 title reigns in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
So I think they're unfairly penalising WWE for some reason.
Okay, I'm going to give you the point there because you were kind of sabotaged by Keane.
How's you sabotage yourself?
It was an interference and a DQ finish.
It was a good point I made anyway.
Oh, I don't think it was. I mean, they're in their own, like, I think it's... Actually, I don't know how it works. I'm not even gonna buy. I'm gonna get it wrong if I try.
It's a kayfabe list, isn't it? Like wins and losses, man.
Yeah, but I think is it like, because they have their own top 50, so it's like, I'm assuming the people who are left over are the people who make the 500 who don't make the top 50.
That makes no sense.
I don't understand it, but I think that's the system.
Yeah, no, that's a weird ass system. Okay, fair enough. We'll go with that. And PW 500 probably going to be the episode title. It was revealed that the plan to add Adam Cole to the WWE main roster was to have him manage a heel Keith Lee, similar to how Leo Rush operated with Lashley beforehand. Did he dodge a bullet here, or are you secretly raging we didn't get to see this, Katie?
I am so glad we dodged this bullet. This is shite. Like Keith Lee is way more charismatic than Adam Cole, so why would Adam Cole be his manager? You know what I mean? Like, I don't get why you'd put the more interesting person to be the quiet one. So I'm so glad this isn't happening.
Okay, it is a hot take where you're like, Adam Cole was the shy part of that. It is a brave hot take.
Less charismatic.
Okay, fair enough. Corbin Keane, what you got?
I think it was fucking shite. I'm delighted we didn't get it. If you look at Leo Rush on Raw with Lashley, Leo Rush on Raw was very underutilized, and the storyline with Lashley led to nothing. But the reason I'm delighted this didn't happen is because this is Vince McMahon's idea of a good idea. Could you imagine when he gets bored of Adam Cole and when he's like, he's actually kind of shite, I'm going to do something else instead. I think he would have been absolutely fucking wasted compared to what he's doing in AEW, so I'm delighted we dodged the bullet.
Okay, really good point, Corbin Keane. Point to you. Thoughts are with Samoa Joe, who was this week forced to relinquish the NXT Championship due to a number of injuries that he's currently dealing with. Do NXT, now they're in their 2.0 phase, have the star power to pull through another big loss for them?
Absolutely. If you watched NXT this past week, it was just littered with star power, top to bottom. Braun Breaker, Von Wagner, LA Knight, all the stars were out, and for me, like, that's what it's all about, you know what I mean? Wrestling's all well and good, but you need to have the name value to back it up, and that's what they had, name value, and it's going to draw the ratings, I'm telling you now.
Okay, Katie, what do you think? Star power to get past Mojo's injury.
I was gonna disagree, just be pedantic, but I do actually agree they have the star power to pull through, because if they don't, then NXT basically shouldn't exist, because NXT was designed to make new stars. So if they can't survive losing one person at the top of the food chain, well then they should probably just fucking pack up shop and like make it a reality TV show again.
It sounds like you just want it to be a reality TV
That
show.
is awesome.
Point to Katie there. Interesting point. I like the angle you took on it. Question 4. GM mode is set to return to WWE 2K22 for the first time since SmackDown vs. Raw 2008. Sources are yet to confirm if it has anything to do with yours truly using the phrase several times during his FFPW GM tenure. I like to tell myself that before I go to sleep at night. But guys, what's the first storyline you're going to book in this game though, Katie?
Oh, you've really like thrown me a keen question here that I cannot answer. Okay, so hear me out. Adam Cole, but with Keith Lee as his manager, because Keith Lee is the charismatic one of the group. I don't have end for this.
I was just defeat as an entity. It's an opportunity left on the table. There is all I'm saying. Corbin Keane, what you got?
It's one where Walter wins all the belts.
Point to Keane. That's the confidence.
That's it.
The confidence way.
Katie literally just buried herself with that. Yeah. It was just like, oh, I don't have an answer. But you had an answer. To pretend it's the best answer ever. It wasn't, but if you pretend.
Yeah, the confidence would be. It's not even the best idea. Like now that I think about it, the point's been given, but like the more I think about it, the more I hate it. But like you said it with such, it just overpowered me. So 2-2 as we head into question 5. Katie, you really need a point here. What does everybody want? A hero, apparently, because fair play to Al Snow, who saved the child from a riptide wave last week and both escaped injury free. So with this in mind, let's show him some appreciation. What's your favourite Al Snow moment?
So Al Snow did a shoot interview one time, I can't remember who it was with, but the fans were allowed to ask questions, and one person asked Al Snow a question where Al Snow once said years ago, if a match doesn't draw money, it's not a good match. Even if it's a technical masterpiece, if it doesn't draw any money, it's not a good match. So the fan asks a question and they say, based off your own logic, if a match doesn't draw money, it's not a good match regardless of its quality. So does that mean it's fair to say that you've never had a good match in your life? And that to me is the funniest thing I've ever seen ever. So that's my favourite Al Snow moment.
I like it, but like he also saved the child's life. So like maybe let's not use this to dump on it. Maybe give him a week. Katie, your thoughts?
So, you know, little known fact, me and Al Snow were co-champions of PWU back in the day. He was the heavyweight champion, I was the women's champion. We shared many like backstage locker rooms, you know, just trading wisdom and helping out the youngsters in the back. And on his last show I was like, Al, let's get a photo. And I just like, because I'm a champ, you're a champ, we're the champ of the same promotion, and I slung my belt over my shoulder and I was like, put your belt on, Al. And then we got in our pictures and you could just see him questioning every life decision he had in his life to be standing in Belfast with me, slinging belts over shoulders, to be like, we are co-champions of this promotion. And that's my favourite Al Snow moment.
Hang on, you thought I went hard on Al Snow? That made him look awful, man. That's like co-champion with Katie.
She did mention PWU, and that is a good way to get a point off. So to be fair, Katie, you win the week. Pull it back to within 1, so 16-15 to Keane. We shall continue this next week and see if you can complete the comeback. Anyway, guys, it's time to talk about the in-ring stuff of the week, the good and the bad. Starting with the bad, because ladies and gentlemen, it's time for
Say Something Stupid.
Say Something Stupid. Worst moments of the week. And at number 5, I'm going to talk about AEW. Just a little thing, okay? Because you remember when it was the Wednesday Night Wars going on, and kind of people used to be like, you know, NXT, only the oldies watch that. That's for the old people, because like AEW got the 18 to 49 market. They got that demo in it, and it's like NXT is such a like 50-year-olds fall asleep to that product and stuff like that. And it was like, these are the young, cool product. They're running a storyline, I would say, continued and got really in-depth with on Rampage this week with dual promos that basically pits Sting against Tully Blanchard. This is the young promotion, the one that's cool for all the kids. What I have to say that in 2021, question, Sting, as our WCW resident expert, do you want to see Sting and Tully Blanchard in 2021, Katie Harvey?
Yes, I do. I genuinely
Sell
do.
me on it, because I'm reaching here.
But like, this is so funny to me because obviously everyone knows I love Sting, massive Sting fan, and then Tully Blanchard in turn is Phil's favourite wrestler. So I just think this would be a gas match to sit down and watch, right? Because obviously it's not going to be very good.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they're very old, you know what I mean? But both of us will be too stubborn to back down that our guy doesn't have it anymore. It'll be this weird clash where it's like me versus Phil, and like we'll be criticising the other person, and it's going to be very enjoyable to watch.
Do you know what? That's why I brought this up, because I had a feeling you'd be able to sell me, and you actually have. Because now I'm going to watch these segments, just imagining used to and what you would say based on that.
Maybe we should just do live commentary.
You should. There you go.
Maybe I'll just go on my Insta Live and we'll just do alternative commentary.
Yeah, like that's it. We'll just like, we won't have a show next week. It'll just be Sting versus Tully Blanchard. The debate to settle it all. I don't know. I don't even know if it's gonna happen. But they're cutting promos about each other constantly.
I'm gonna message Phil this now just to see his reaction. I'll let you know what he says.
While you do that, in at number 4, talk to me about Limitless.
Limitless is fucking excellent, right? This is basically This Is Awesome segment, right? But I just didn't want to clog up This Is Awesome. But it's 90% amazing, but there was one little thing about it that made me laugh, so I'll put it here. Limitless, basically, if you don't know what it is, it's like a promotion in America. It's an independent promotion, and I saw somebody the other day call it like the best US indie right now, and to be honest, I don't really think they're wrong. They've got a whole load of homegrown talent, local talent that they use. They build storylines from show to show. The wrestling is fucking excellent. If you haven't seen, Daniel Garcia, by the way, is a champion. If you know Daniel Garcia from AEW and from every indie in America at this stage, he's the champion, and he defended his title against JD Drake actually at the last show, which was fucking excellent. They also have he wrestled in WWE as August Gray, but he's now Anthony Green. And this is the fun part about WWE releasing all their kind of like, all the talent that they were kind of stocking up in NXT and 205 Live that were great wrestlers, but they weren't doing anything with them. Now they're released back out onto the indies and go back to their home kind of crowds, and it's almost like a WrestleMania moment for them, you know what I mean? But like, obviously on a smaller scale, but it feels massive because they're a star and they're an excellent wrestler. Anthony Green is really, really good, and also the production of this indie is fucking amazing. It reminds you a lot like GG Media and all that stuff, you know what I mean? They do a lot of backstage interviews, a lot of it's just really, honestly, on top to bottom, it's really, really good. But there's one thing that made me laugh from it that I wanted to mention, right? So there's this heel promotion or heel faction called Prestigious, and they're basically like these, you know, charismatic, cocky, jacked heels, and they wanted to. Let me get this right. They wanted to get a wrestler into their faction called Davienne, but Davienne, she didn't want to join Prestigious. So in the end, she turned around and she was like, "I want to face John Alba." So John Alba is the manager of Prestigious, and he's like this cowardly journalist, you know, broadcaster. I think that's what he does, like, outside of wrestling. A side note about him that I found really interesting, I don't know why I never see this more in wrestling, right? But I noticed when, and I won't rip into him over, like, it's independent wrestling, you know what I mean? But like, I just noticed, like, whenever he's getting ripped apart in a promo or he's getting beaten up, I noticed that, like, he's always trying not to laugh. And I wonder, how come this never happens in wrestling more than, like, I feel like if I was a wrestler, that's something I deal with a lot. Like, how do you not burst out laughing, particularly on the indies when it's very, like, personal, you know what I mean? It's like you're there with your mates and all that, like, doing all this over the top stuff. I actually don't know how we don't see that more, where like the person in question is trying not to laugh.
It's a real thing. I remember before, Katie, I'm sure you've got stories. You just forget sometimes. You just look at someone and then you're like, that's my mate. And we're just having a laugh, like, and then like, I remember one time I was reffing a match, and then like someone comes up and like threatens me, he's like, shut up, ref, and I didn't flinch, I was like, cat. And then they're like, this is real, and I'm like, oh yeah, and I'm like, shit. Surely you have moments as well, like
they all involve Justy. Like,
yeah.
The few times we've tagged together, like I remember we were tagging together, and I think we were against like Angel Cruz and Amy, which was like a comedy match anyway, and like I can't remember, we cut a very back and forth unscripted promo with each other, me and Justy did, but we just kept making each other laugh and catching each other, and I was just like, oh yeah, shit, I've an actual match in the purpose of this promo. But like, he's probably the main one that's really hard to hold it together against. Like, he's just too funny.
But even like on commentary, like I remember like last time I commentated like a Katie match in Phoenix, it was a lot, like, this is a while ago, but I actually remember I was like, like when I was commentating, like it was hard not to laugh because it was like not because like oh I was shite or anything like that. I know like probably expected me to say that, but no, just because it's like it's somebody you know, wrestling is funny, like you know what I mean? Like I don't know, I just find it gas. But that's not even why I put that here. That's just a little side note. I just find it really funny. They basically I'm trying to remember what it was. There was a situation. There must have been a match. This is like going back to the show before the last show where Davey N got her match against John Alba, but he had his own stipulation. So it wasn't against John Alba. It was going to be against the whole prestigious faction. And if the prestigious lads win, she joins the faction. And then at this show, she got to basically say her own stipulations. Long story short, she was about to get hopped on by the faction. All her friends came in for the save, so it's her team against his team. If she loses, she joins prestigious. But if she wins, she turns around and is just like, yo, you are out of Limitless Wrestling for the rest of 2021. And immediately I was like, oh, it's September. And it reminded me, because we're guilty of that over in Ireland. Like we've seen it with OTT, with Session Mod, where like Defiant won. It was like goodbye Session Mod, and it's like she was back like I think in maybe not the next show, like 2 shows. You know what I mean? Darren Carney at Fight Factory. You know what I mean? Did a big goodbye. We'll see you. Good luck in Canada. You know what I mean? He comes back like 2 shows later.
Oh no. He didn't miss a show.
Oh, excellent. Even better.
He was actually only gone for 2 months. It was 2 months until our next show. He actually didn't miss anything.
It's so funny because like with indie, like if that was a weekly show, you're like, right, he misses a fair, like 2 months in weekly TV, you're like, yeah, that's you know, a lot can happen in those 2 months. But in indie wrestling, if you're only running 1 show a month, it's like if you're watching that chronologically, it's literally goodbye, see you never, and then they're back at the next show. You know what I mean? But it's gas. Yeah, so I'm looking at that, I'm like, right, so that was like September. Or maybe their August show, I'm not entirely sure. But even then, if there's like 3 shows left, the next show is the match, so he's going to be at that. So it's like, so if he loses, he's really fighting for like 2 shows. You know what I mean? But I found that really funny. But yeah, I recommend Limitless, actually, believe it or not. You know, they're in this segment. I think they're fucking excellent. So yeah.
Interesting. In at number 3, something I want to talk a lot about. NXT relaunched this week with NXT 2.0. I feel like there's going to be a lot to say on both sides. So let's get to it. NXT 2.0.
Yeah, I had a big week for wrestling to come. I think pretty excited.
Yeah.
So I have here in my notes Malibu Barbie has a new hat. So you know that's kind of what it felt like to me at first when I tuned into NXT, because like if anyone's seen, they have a very different set now and a very different like color scheme and logo and stuff like that. But one of the kind of frustrating things to me was it didn't feel like a true reboot, and that was mainly because they still held over a lot of storylines from last week and the previous weeks. And I don't feel like if you were a brand new fan and this was the first episode you were watching, I don't feel like it would have felt like it was new. You know what I mean? I think you still would have felt that little bit lost on like what happened in previous like feuds and who people were and stuff.
Yeah.
So it did feel a little bit like, ooh, look, there's a shiny logo and the lights are on, you know? I actually like the new theme. I like the new set.
That's great. And
this is what's going to be frustrating about me talking about NXT, is because what I like is tied in so closely with what I didn't like that the lines are going to blur between both categories. So like when it gets into the actual content, I have like a problem with the booking of the 4-way for the title.
Okay.
But I thought the match itself was deadly, which is a really frustrating thing to me. So like the show opened with LA Knight getting bet by Braun Breaker, right?
Braun Breaker is just so good, man. I like, oh man.
No, he's in this is awesome for me.
I love so much about this NXT, and I didn't know if I was going to talk about now or like say.
No, we have Braun Breaker coming up later.
Like,
it's not about Braun Breaker necessarily. It's about just everything about it. Like I did not even think about the NXT reboot. I was in my head. I'm like, oh, I'm going to be watching NXT again, you know, this week as usual. You know what I mean? I didn't really. By the way, it's NXT 4.0, not 2.0, right? There's the reality show era, there's a takeover era, and there's the network era, right? So this is 4.0 if we're being technical about it, right? But I absolutely loved it. I thought when I turned this on, this to me, I didn't feel the same. I felt this was completely different. This, like, the NXT that, like, a lot of people love, and myself included, I loved all the takeovers and all that stuff, that's fucking dead. Like, I look at this now, I'm like, that's long gone now. But it doesn't actually bother me because we have alternatives. We have AEW. We have. It's not like if Takeover was to disappear in 2018, I'd have been like, oh fuck, like what are we gonna do now? You know what I mean? Like, but now that we have all the rest, and the indies are back as well. I was talking about Limitless there a second ago. Like, there's so much out there that like, it doesn't bother me that like I've seen people saying, oh, this looks like a kid show. It's like, yeah, it fucking is a kid show. Like,
So
you know
someone said it's like World of Sport.
It is.
And
Like,
I get that
I thought it was very like the reboot of World of Sport.
Yeah. That's what people were saying. I got that vibe.
But
Yeah.
what I found so funny about this is that I felt this show was completely different. I felt it was completely new. And when I saw the likes of Ciampa, Pete Dunne, Roderick Strong, I was like, these people look like they've accidentally been left behind at a kids' party. They look very out of place. They don't look like they belong there. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, I know that may seem like an insult, but it kind of makes the whole thing very, very interesting. I was not expecting this at all. I was not expecting Braun Breaker or Von Wagner. It's hilarious. I don't know where they find these people, but it's fucking hilarious.
Like, what you're saying kind of ties into what my issue was with the 4-way. So like, the actual match was deadly, right? But my issue was Ciampa winning it. Because if you're going to usher in a new era of NXT, why pick someone who's had...
Right, I think the plan would have been for Joe to be the champion for a while, and I think they're going to replace all their Joe plans with Ciampa. And I think the idea behind it is that you got all these young people coming through, like we've seen like Von Wagner in the main event straight away. And I think the idea is they're going to have, and they've already done it with the end of the show, like Braun Breaker, but to go against somebody like Ciampa, so they've got somebody more experienced to learn from in the ring rather than just facing each other. Because these aren't like indie stars; these are like, you know, performance center recruits they found from like basketball or some shit.
I get that, but my issue with the booking was, right, it should have been Braun Breaker in the main event. Like, he bet LA Knight in the opening match. Okay, so who was it got taken out? Kyle O'Reilly got taken out, right? So your man Von Wagner gets his spot because he saved him. There's some air quotes there, but you don't give the spot to the person who's actually that night already beaten one of the competitors in the match.
I think the logic behind it is that he has already wrestled, you know what I mean? So it's like a better opportunity for him would be to get the first shot afterwards, after the winner. And they're going that direction, and I'm very intrigued by it.
Yeah, they saved it a little bit at the end for me by having that interaction with Ciampa and Braun Breaker, but like, it just confused the life out of me how your man's first ever match, he was inserted into this because he saved Kyle O'Reilly from a
And also as well, like, I think I like what you're saying about Ciampa, because like, to say that he's the experienced one, I get it, but like, also the whole thing around Ciampa was Barbie, and that's very like old school NXT. Do you know what I mean? That's very like kind of core NXT takeover era NXT. You know what I mean? So they're playing off that to kind of like, it's not new, it's not fresh, it's not something. So
I thought Pete Dunne would be a good choice to win because I think he's got enough experience to carry it into a new era, but he's like, it would still be a fresh turn have him as champion.
Yeah, him in that spot is new. Like, yeah.
You couldn't put it on LA Knight because he's just lost in the opener, and you can't put it on Von Wagner because even though he wasn't bad, he wasn't a standout. I think
actually, do you know what? I genuinely thought Von Wagner was winning it as well. Like when he was coming for the pin, I was like, oh my god, they're gonna do this. Like that's gonna be their statement to be like, look, this is new.
I did think that as well, and I think if it had been a different person in that position, it wouldn't have been a bad way to go.
Who the fuck is Von Wagner? Is he like? Was that his debut?
Actually, you will be the perfect person to ask, right? Did he give you short Great Khali vibes?
I suppose.
Because he walked out and straight away Phil went, is this the Great Khali's son? Like, go back and look at it and it will confuse you a little bit. There are similarities there.
But I love this for the reasons that others will probably hate it. Like, it's goofy. It's 100%, it's goofy, childish kids TV, but it's so funny. Like, and again, we've got alternatives already. I'm curious to know like how long are they going to stay on the USA Network now? Because it's like, on one hand, I get that wrestling offers, you know, live weekly TV and that sort of thing, but there's going to be like fuck all stars on this, and I think a lot of people are going to be like, right, this is not, you know, my NXT, you know what I mean? But for me, it's a fucking banger. I'm like, this is fucking, like, this because it's different. I'm going to see people in NXT that like I don't see anywhere else. And again, like, if WWE were still in the position where they kind of had a monopoly over wrestling, I'd be like, fuck, you know, I want my indie stars to get a chance at glory. But now that we have AEW, it's like, we don't really need that anymore. So I mean, if they want to bring in Scott Steiner's son and call him Braun Breaker, I'll be like, this is funny, I'm going to watch it. Like, I'm actually excited for NXT next week, because I'm like, what are they going to do with it's such a mix now, because what are they going to do with the new people, but what are they going to do with people that are still there that didn't get moved yet? You know what I mean? Are they going to... I was so intrigued. I love this, man. This is gas.
Interesting. And we still have the good to talk about, so like, we haven't even finished with NXT 2.0. So anyway, we are still in Say Something Stupid, so let's talk about number 2, Dynamite. I want to bring up, and the match I want to talk about specifically is because it's based around like the past couple of weeks. We've been talking about the positives and the negatives of all the wrestlers. So we had Tommy Dreamer wrestling the Impact Championship match a few weeks ago versus Minoru Suzuki wrestling the main event of Dynamite last week, which we all kind of agreed when it happened at All Out was fucking cool moment. When it works and when it kind of doesn't, being the key move. Today's it's on the bad side of the coin, because I want to talk about Dustin Rhodes taking on Malachi Black last week, and well, it got bad fast. I don't know if you have seen this or even the clips or anything like that. No. It was really bad. There were so many spots that looked awful in the match. So first off, do you know the spot where like someone is going for a power slam, but someone like holds onto the ropes, like they're coming to go off and then they grab the ropes really late? And like if you get that right, that's savage, because the person just flips and does kind of almost like the RKO, or Randy Orton getting ready for the RKO spot. But they hurt themselves and then the other person just bang on top. The problem is it happened really slowly, so Malachi just kind of more walked into the ropes and stopped, then went to go and then pulled himself back. So like what ended up happening was Dustin, like kind of, because it didn't happen at the same time, like Dustin, they looked at each other for a second and then Dustin just went anyway. For no reason. Like Malachi had stopped and Dustin just looked like he spazzed or something, like he had a fit. It was really, really bad. The next one was, this was on Malachi, because it was when, do you know the spot where Dustin kicks you in the gut and then goes on down to his knees and gives you an uppercut? Like as he kicked him in the gut, Malachi just broke for a second. He just broke and he forgot how to wrestle, like, and he just like ended up selling the uppercut instead. Do you know what I mean? He sold the move that was about to happen. So like he sold a kick by selling an uppercut, if that makes sense. So he put his head down and went, whoa! And then it's like, what about your torso, mate? And because you know the spot, like we're like, oh, that's just so bad. The finish was just Dustin Rhodes quitting the match. Black went for a black mass and the kick had barely touched Dustin Rhodes and he's just like, I'm going down. It didn't even get near his face. Like Malachi Black's boot just like scraped his arm and Dustin's like, fuck this shit. Which, like, again, like, whatever, it's a bad match. I don't want to be kind of one of those people. It can happen, do you know what I mean? But to add to all this, the reason that it's in here is that afterwards Dustin got real insecure and salty about it on Twitter, writing after the match. This is an exact quote that he put up after the match. Aspiring wrestlers, when I am teaching you how to tell a story, pay attention, because I promise you that telling a story to your audience will make them feel, then all in caps, that's what you want. Hashtag keep stepping. It's like Malachi Black is not an aspiring wrestler. He's a former NXT champion with a WWE tenure behind him that gets massive reactions. Dustin, you are a legend. I think someone that deserves a Hall of Fame place, like if they're being doled out. But in that match, you did not look like you were teaching anyone. It looked like, I'm just being like honest here, it looked like he was the owl lad who'd taken up training for the first time and just didn't have any coordination whatsoever and was still like getting the hang of things. And that's fine, it can happen, but don't get thick about it on Twitter. Don't get so like coming out like, and never mind that, if you're gonna get thick, if you absolutely have to get thick, and you never should, but if you have to get thick into people criticizing you. Don't go in and be like, that guy's shit, am I right? Look at these kids, and it's like, he's better than you. We all think he's better than you. Retire. It was really, really bad. But what it wasn't was the worst thing in the week, because in at number 1, this is kind of the takeaway that ended being from the SmackDown 9/11 show, which we will talk about. The return to Madison Square Garden, the obviously 20th anniversary of 9/11. Katie, take it away.
Yeah, look, there was very little to complain about with SmackDown. It was class, top to bottom, on what we got to see on the show. So my Say Something Stupid is what we didn't get to see on the show, and that was Zelina Vega being dropped. So like, if anyone's like not sure why I think this is really stupid, is Zelina Vega has always been very vocal about 9/11 because her father died that day. And WWE has taken advantage of this over the years as well, you know, like promotional campaigns and stuff have her speaking about it. And she was due to have a match on this show, and it was previously advertised, wasn't it, the match?
Yeah, it was advertised, but also as well, WWE had her doing stuff this weekend. They had her with Stephanie McMahon
doing
premiere the documentary that they released,
And she had new gear made for it, and she was advertising it on Twitter. And then basically what happened was the match got cut for time. Okay, and like, look, live TV, these things happen, I completely understand. But I just feel that if you've put so much stock into like someone's emotional trauma to promote your show, like the least you can do is make sure they get that time on the show. You know what I mean? For that to be the segment that got cut, I just thought was kind of callous. You know what I mean? It kind of seemed like they were using her.
Yeah.
And look, SmackDown, as it was really tight top to bottom, and you can see even the end segment with like the Demon and Roman Reigns, that felt like it was cut super short. You know what I mean? It was literally like, get the Demon out there, boom, credits, we're done. You know, but I just feel like they should have timed better to make sure that match went on, or else, like, because it was such a big show, like, do some sort of pre-show, you know what I mean? Or put it on as a dark match, so at least, you know, if you think you're going to run over on your main show, put it on as a dark match, so at least she's getting that moment in New York after everything she's done for the company, like putting herself out there so vulnerably to promote this show and to promote WWE, because like WWE was full America this week. They were like, you know, the first big company to have a gathering after 9/11, and like they really hang their hats on how like patriotic they are. And I just felt like this was kind of the least patriotic thing you could have done on that show. And I just felt really bad for Zelina. And she just had a tweet up afterwards, and it was like her quote tweet in her new gear, and it just said "never mind," and I was like, I could feel her heartbreak through that one tweet.
It wasn't even like, because there was some other bitchy tweets. I think Carmella and stuff put up bitchy, and they were bitchy tweets. Do you know what I mean? It was like bitter tweets, angry tweets. But with that, it was just sadness.
In defense of Zelina?
No, like when, like about being cut. Do you know, about them being cut? Because it was obviously a known story, but Zelina was why. But with Zelina, it was just a sad tweet. It wasn't even bitter. Yeah. It wasn't angry. It was just sad, and it was really heartbreaking.
You could tell it would have meant a lot to her to be in New York on the 20th anniversary, like wrestling in memory of like her father and everything that got on. And I was just like, oh, this is just, yeah, it's really sad. You know what I mean? It's just the wrong way to play this entire situation. So.
Yeah. Also as well, worth kind of pointing out, and I agree with everything you say, and I think they deserve to get criticised for this, but do you remember a few weeks ago I was like, when WWE have a good show, we will talk about the positives about SmackDown, but when WWE have a good show, if you check Twitter, the outrage about something WWE has done will be inversely proportional to when they have to how good the show was. Do you think that there's kind of like, I'm not saying that, like, I think we're right to discuss this, and I'm not minimizing it in any way. I think they deserve to be shit on, but also for me, I was like, there's an element to this, because I went into this and I didn't watch SmackDown Live. I saw the outrage on Twitter, and then I'm like, this is gonna be shit. And then I watched the show, and I'm like, okay, that was really good.
Yeah, see, the frustrating thing is there was nothing I would have replaced to get that match on.
I would have replaced the 10-man. For me personally,
I agree.
I love the 10-man.
No, I think the outrage is justified. It was a good show, but it wasn't like, you know, like a 10 out of 10 pay-per-view, or you know what I mean. Like, it was just a good SmackDown. And I think the decision to cut Zelina Vega off the show is fucking embarrassing. I think that for me, I get what you're saying, like as a general point, but with this specific show, I feel like the outrage was in proportion, in my opinion.
Okay, fair enough. But like, okay, so let's talk about the good anyway from the week, and let's get on to it because it's time for best moments of the week. In at number 6, let's talk about NWA. A positive.
It was the first NWA since, or it was the first NWA featuring Nick Aldis since he lost the NWA Championship to Trevor Murdoch. And long story short, he ended the show with a big promo about basically reacting to his loss. And it was very, very interesting, because I can't remember last time I've seen something like this where a champion loses, right? And when he came out, he didn't have the belt with him. And I genuinely went, that looks so fucking weird, man. Where's the belt? It's like, oh yeah, he lost it. It's like, what the fuck? Like, he looks naked without the belt. You know what I mean? It's weird. It's like something's missing there. You know what I mean? Like, I associate him that strongly with the title that when he loses it feels like such a big deal. So I'm like, what the fuck? Where's your thing going? Like, that's it. You know what I mean? He cut a promo where he cut out all the heel stuff. You know what I mean? He wasn't messing with the interviewer or going out of his way to be a prick. He was basically, it was like like, do you ever see like Dominic Cruz when he loses to TJ Dillashaw, and it's a video that you've probably seen, like even like outside of MMA, like how to take a loss or whatever like that. It was just a big gracious kind of interview about the loss and a very kind of like taking the loss well, but also like highlighting what it means to be the NWA champion, what challenges that Trevor Murdoch's going to face, and going in and having the target on your back, and then like going back into the change room and people being your mate, but knowing in the back of your head that at the end of the day they want what you have. So it's like constant, never ending. And then like obviously he ended it saying that he's gonna win it back eventually, whatever. But what I loved about this promo was that it made the fucking championship feel unreal. It made it feel so important. Like after that promo, I was like, man, I really want to see an NWA title defense. I'm fucking snapping that there's no like show to build this around, you know what I mean? There's no like, I've complained before about their roster and like, you know what I mean, there's no like NWA, I can't wait to see Trevor Murdoch versus Tyrus or so, you know what I mean? There's no kind of like, I want to see this, I want to see that, but stuff like this is kind of like, this is where NWA is kind of like, they kind of have a bit of potential, you know what I mean, when it comes to their talking and their promos and stuff. But I don't know, I just thought it was a good promo, and I just feel like I wish there was a show that could be built kind of, a better show that could be built around it, is basically what I'm saying.
Okay, fair enough. There we go. The lesser spotted NWA This Is Awesome moment. I like it. In at number 5, I want to talk about something from Rampage, which nearly made say something stupid. I want to talk about Andrade against Chavo. Reason was like there was a few odd moments in this as well, and the fact that they kind of resorted to kind of heel chicken shit finish, I thought was kind of underselling the lads who just need to put on a deadly match. Like it's the and also as well, one thing that a reservation I had with it was that it was the opener to the show. Now I got why the end they had like kind of the main event was it was Brian Pillman against who's
Max Caster.
Against Max Caster, which is a random main event with two non-main evented, and it's mainly there because Cincinnati, and like they finished off with John Moxley, who's also from Cincinnati, coming out and saving Pillman when he got attacked and stuff. And it was a cool moment, don't get me wrong, but also I'm like, your main event was the opener, and your opener was your main event. But anyway, I want to talk about this because it was a really good match with Andrade and Pac. It obviously meant to happen on All Out, but didn't happen because of travel issues, and ended up making AEW Rampage seem more stacked. And I don't think AEW All Out felt like it was missing anything. I think it was plenty stacked as it was. So I was glad that it was on here. It was interestingly started in that because obviously they had so much planned for Rampage anyway. Before this match got cut from All Out, that the card was stacked, so they had to start it in the ring with the two lads just standing there. But it was actually a really I like how AEW like Rampage, because it's a 1 hour show, but it's not a Sunday Night Heat show. It's supposed to be kind of on the same level as Dynamite, sometimes bigger, because obviously CM Punk came back on that show. So it's supposed to matter, but like they have to cut corners to kind of like get everything in, if that makes sense, which sometimes means cutting entrances and so on. But the way they build it is really good, because they got in the ring and it's just like the show, just like it's credits and then ring introductions. And then the two lads looking intense, and it's like, okay, that's actually good. That's actually better than entrances. Like, it just throws you in. I remember you talking about Impact.
That's literally what I was thinking when you were saying that. Like, just jumping straight into the match.
Yeah, it's an interesting kind of way. Not what you want to see every week, but it works as a special.
Makes it feel important. Like.
And like urgent. Good match, as you'd imagine, with the guys. But the end of it came when Pac hit his finisher on Andrade, and then the ref got distracted. Chavo Guerrero came in with kind of iPad that he was carrying around as kind of a little performance benefit thing, smacked him on the back of the head, or smacked Pac on the back of the head. Andrade rolled over, half conscious, 1, 2, 3, he ended up winning. Afterwards, kind of Chavo rolls him out of the ring. Andrade's kind of looking, and he's like, did you hit him with the thing? And he's like, but it's just kind of, you're not expecting anything to happen. This reminded me of something NXT, since we're speaking about the old days of takeovers and stuff, they were really good at. Because do you remember like when NXT would do twists at the end of takeovers, but they let it stretch really long, and then you'd almost be tuning out of the show.
But the logo would come up as well, beforehand, like the outro logo.
Yeah, so you're like, this match is over, and Andrade's like just walking away from the ring going, oh, you hit him with the thing, you hit him with the iPad, and you're not expecting anything to come of it. And then out of nowhere, Andrade goes, he kind of comes to his senses, and he knocks Chavo the fuck out. And he's just like, no, what the fuck? Why the fuck did you hit me? And then the Lucha Brothers came down, or they were down anyway, and they ended up grabbing Chavo, and there was kind of a moment of mutual respect with Andrade and the Lucha Brothers, which is kind of like, it's really interesting booking, because first off, are they breaking up that partnership like very early into their tenure? Is it mind games with the Lucha Brothers? Is he pretending to be outraged by this to gain their affection or respect? You know what I mean? And they didn't answer any of that. They just left it hanging there. It's really like, again, it's something so simple, but it's something that I don't think we've seen. A heel being pissed off by his manager cheating, but he's not necessarily turning face here. Do you know what I mean? It's just left up in the air. What was this? What did it mean? And they just went left. So really creative booking, and I liked it, because you're just not expecting it at any stage. You're just like, that's a really generic finish. It's a bit of a shame they didn't have a clean finish, and you're like, oh, I see what you did there. Okay, I'm actually more interested. So well done to AEW on that. In number 4, let's talk. We were bursting out of our seams to talk about a lot of the good stuff from NXT 2.0. So let's talk about it now. The better side of the relaunch of NXT.
Yeah, like there was a lot of stuff that I did like on it. I do like the fact that they launched a lot of new people. I'm in love with Braun Breaker. I'm not in love with the name so much. If he's a Steiner, call him a Steiner.
Well, he's not just a Steiner. He's a breaker.
Well, then, like, why can't you call him like
Braun
Breaker Steiner? Like, why can't Breaker be the nickname? Because he breaks people.
Do you know what the funniest part is? His initial name supposedly was actually a really cool name, Rex Steiner.
Oh.
And like also his surname, his real life surname is like Rex Steiner. So it's like it is a play off his real surname, but also it's a tribute. It's like that's actually a cool name, and they changed it to Braun Breaker, which is so like, it's so dumb, but I love it. Like it's I want WWE to be the stupid company now. I want it to be the kind of like, just make me fucking laugh. Like I don't mind, like just make me laugh.
But like, do you think they're doing it so he's not living in the shadow of Rick Steiner? Because that, you can't really do that in the age of the internet when people can just look up he's Rick Steiner's son.
I think it's like a Curtis Axel deal, where it's like they probably are going to use it. It's WWE, they use everything they can.
Yeah, because they never mention it on commentary, which I found interesting.
I think they will. I think that's obviously going to come up at some stage. Maybe when he comes up to the main roster or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, they've got it in their back pocket. But again, like when they made him Curtis Axel, they weren't like Mr. Perfect or like the son of Mr. Perfect. You know what I mean? It was like, you can have your own identity, but we can also call back to it. You know what I mean?
Because to be fair, he is class, and I think they are positioning him for big things. Like to beat like LA Knight, who's in the title match on his first match of the show, like, is a big deal. And like when he came on, I wasn't sure at first, and I didn't cop the Steiner thing, and I looked at the singlet, and he was like really excited to be there. And like the first thing me and Phil both said was, moderately hyped Mojo Rawley.
Yeah! That was my thought as well. I've got such strong Mojo vibes off him. Yeah.
But like not quite at that level. It was like moderately hyped. He's excited to be here, but he's not going to make a fool of himself. You know? And I was like, oh, this is interesting. And like, because WWE have made such a big deal of like, they're going back to like sourcing athletes and amateur wrestlers rather than indie guys, I was like, oh, this is going to be a real interesting experiment. He's going to be their next big thing. But then when he actually started wrestling, I was like, this lad's class. Like I love LA Knight. He's probably my favourite on NXT. And like, I had no problem with him losing. Like, so I was like, this lad is class. Like, if he's going to get squashed, I'm glad it's by this lad. Like, other new people that debuted, B-Fab. She's been around a while, has she? She's in Hit Row. Yeah. Like, it was alright, but I like what they're doing, because I always thought like NXT had a weaker women's division, so I like they're introducing new people. And that's why I was so pleasantly surprised then by my other favourite part of the show, which was the 6-woman tag, which was deadly. It was just a really good match. Like, whoever aged the shit out of it, because it was so entertaining. And I absolutely love that like Mandy Rose took a reboot show as a chance to reboot herself.
Yeah.
So she's dyed the hair brown, she's changed her gear, like you can
She's
tell.
very recognisable.
Oh, she looked. I thought it was Debbie Costello at first. I was like,
Actually.
what is going on?
She looks more like Debbie than she does like Mandy. Like.
Straight in the group chat, like, is there something you're not telling me? Can you send me a picture of where you are right now? But I love the fact that like it just does show that like if things are getting stale on Raw and SmackDown, you can go to NXT and reinvent yourself. I like it's pushing that narrative that Mandy is after doing this full reboot. I just thought the match was class, and it gave me a lot more hope than I originally had for the women's division of NXT. And I can't talk about this show without talking about the Index wedding.
I was wondering, like, 'cause you didn't put it down, but I'm like, it's not like you did not acknowledge a wrestler at all. So go for it. Yeah, I'm intrigued because I want to talk about it as well.
I loved it.
Right.
Okay, I loved it. At first I wasn't sure about going on main. I said to Phil, I was like, it's a bit weird the 4-way's on before the wedding. I was like, you know, reboot show, like I just thought it was odd ordering, and we watched the 4-way, and it was, as I said, the actual match was quality, like I loved it. But then they showed the hype video for like Indy and Dexter's love story, and I was like on the edge of my seat. I was laughing.
This is your my way.
Yeah, and then Phil just looked at me and goes, "You still agree the wedding shouldn't go on last?" And I was like, "Oh, you got me." I just thought it was very funny. All right, I don't know if it suits new NXT. Because I still don't know what their overall vibe is they're going for, but like I found it very funny and very satisfying. Strange that there was like no interruptions. There was actually no storyline continuation at all. It was just a nice, funny wedding to continue this storyline. Like the pop Dexter Loomis got for finally speaking and saying "I do." Like I was popping at home, and I'm a latecomer to NXT. Like I missed the whole first half of this storyline. Like I love that they brought back like Damian Priest and stuff. I thought it was very funny seeing the guests at the wedding, like grizzled young vets and stuff. Could have put them in a match on the first show. Like
I like their little preamble as well, where it's like, this is gonna be shite.
Yeah, there was just like it was just funny. It was just well done. I just enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the show like pretty much overall. Like there was a lot of good stuff in it for me.
I have been a skeptic in this storyline for the entire time, to the point last week I was in a minority in not enjoying the kind of stag and bachelorette parties that they had beforehand. And I went back afterwards and I watched it again, and I was like, do you know what? I was right.
That's disappointing.
However, I did watch this wedding and I liked it. I thought this wedding was good. I thought this was like, I actually really enjoyed it. It was so... Do you know what I liked about it, okay? The NXT now, and this is kind of to pick up on what you were saying earlier, okay? NXT now, they don't take themselves seriously. Do you know what I mean? And there's actually a gap in the market for that. Do you know what I mean? Because now we have like, when you look at kind of what say AEW's doing, now they can do comedy, and they can do comedy very well as well. But like, when you look at what AEW's doing, they're like, professional wrestling, not sports entertainment, you know what I mean? And like, WWE can be quite likeable when they lean into the we don't actually get, we're sports entertainment, we don't care, we don't take ourselves seriously. They can be quite good. Do you know, I think back to stuff like, do you know, like when they did the WrestleMania package, like for WrestleMania 33, where they did the piss take WrestleMania package? Do you remember where they're like on a boat, and then it's like, oh, we're gonna get wet and stuff like this, and like it's really like when they do that, and that's what I felt this wedding was. It was just like ridiculous. It was just giving them room to breathe. They were stupid hammy jokes, but it was like, it was good the way like Beth came up, and like when she came up out of nowhere, and she's just kind of like kicking your man away. Like, I popped as well when Dexter said "I do." It was hard not to, because you could see it coming. Do you know what I mean? You're like, before when he kind of gave the thumbs up, although like Orange Cassidy wants 10% of that. But like when you get the thumbs up, you're like, nah, he's gonna speak. This is the moment you have him say something. So I had a feeling, and then when it happened, there was a big pop. And then how everyone else popped. I even like Johnny Gargano here. I like hate comedy Johnny Gargano.
Oh, same. He's very funny and believable as Indy Hartwell's dad for some reason. Like it's the most I've ever liked him. I think is in this comedy shtick.
It's literally, and like I haven't even liked a lot of this comedy shtick, but I did like him in this case because like he was just in the background making comments. Do you know what I mean? He was just like, "What's gonna happen now?" And you could hear him like, and it was just like, yeah, I liked it, and against all my best instincts, I didn't want to like it. I didn't come in pro this, but I did. I have to say, Cobra King, your own thoughts?
Yeah, it was alright. I wouldn't say I was like as into it as you maybe, but like, it was great. Like the thumbs up thing actually made me laugh. I actually forgot about that. Where it's like I do, and he's just sort of like, wait, you can't see me because it's a podcast, but like, I mean, like that's like the best way to respond. Like I think it went about the thumbs up. I love the ending, yeah, where he got a massive pop for speaking. Yeah, I was kind of in the same boat as you there. I was like, oh, you know, it's him speaking. Like,
yeah,
it's fucking.
He did nothing. Like,
yeah,
brilliant.
I think it was weird. It's like everything about NXT right now interests me. You know what I mean? Because I don't know what they're gonna do next week. I don't know if they even have a plan. I don't think they even know what they're gonna do next week. And that's why I'm excited, because like if there's somebody who can like enjoy dumb shit, I think this is gonna be fun. I think it's gonna be fun. Right? Like we'll see where it goes. I'm looking forward to it though.
For better or worse, like it'll be something to talk about. Okay, you'll never be stuck for things to talk about on this, and you're coming in at an interesting time.
Yeah, that's mad. One of the reasons I didn't want NXT when we were doing the draft is because I was like, I'm nothing to say. Like, so it's a bit repetitive. I was kind of, you know, it was Kyle O'Reilly being big serious Kyle O'Reilly against big serious Adam Cole. I was like, I've got nothing to say about this. You know what I mean? And
now it could be like Kyle O'Reilly in a pimp suit or something. You
don't
know.
What's happening? So I'm like, I'm actually like, man, this is the show now. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, Kyle O'Reilly comes out dressed like Becky Lynch in that promo last week.
Like a Saints Row 3 character.
Amazing. In at number 3, I want to talk about AEW Dynamite. Obviously, this is the first show they're coming off All Out. They've got Daniel Bryan on this show. They've got Adam Cole. They've got CM Punk. They're stacked for a lineup. And the person that I want to highlight is someone who's been there all along. MJF stole the show on this. He is, we all know again, his promo skills are like elite, maybe the best talker in wrestling today, and now he's pissed off. Now he's got something to play off. He's lost to Jericho, he feels humiliated, he's pissed off with everyone, and he just comes out and lets rip. And this is what MJF does, like kind of very well as a heel. He gets this line perfectly in a way that no one in wrestling, anyone else who tries this in wrestling where they're like, I'm going to be edgy, I'm going to be close to the line, they all get it wrong except for MJF, who says the things you can't say, but says it in just enough of a way where we're like, that's art, and he doesn't mean it. You know what I mean? He doesn't get cancelled for it, but it's stuff you can get cancelled for. So this time, if you haven't seen it, he picked on, it was in Cincinnati, and they had Brian Pillman Jr.'s family in the front row. So they had like kind of his auntie, I think it was, who took care of him after Brian died, and obviously he had a drug addict mother as well. Like, and this was covered in Dark Side of the Ring, which they played off like because they quoted the auntie by name, and they're like, oh, there she is, you know what I mean? They're celebrating, and his sister was at ringside and she was pregnant as well. MJF comes out and like just is like looking around like ready to savage someone because he's just embarrassed himself. So he's like, he looks at them, spots them at ringside, and they're like kind of like just chastising him like everyone else, like saying boo and stuff, and he's like, I'm sorry, 16 and pregnant, have you got something to say? And then the granny starts going, or the auntie starts going boo, and he goes, what's that, Roseanne? Some of the lines I haven't written down, they're epic. Then Brian Pillman comes out and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, your drug addicted mother methadone, sorry, I mean Melanie, which is very real. His mother has a massive drug problem. It was on Dark Side of the Ring. It's very, very real. But they went there on TV. And then like another line he gets Brian Pillman with, and he turns around and he goes, your mother could have given birth to 500 different second generation stars, but unfortunately in your case she didn't do to you what she did to the rest, and swallow.
I thought that was going somewhere else and I gasped.
And then he said, I'm going to do what your mother should have done, and abort, and then Pillman attacked him. He went there. He did go there. And it's just like, it's literally, it's edge of your seat viewing, because you're like, he's gonna get cancelled. He's gonna, like, he's saying the things you cannot say, but he's just hot and he's on fire. But also as well, it's the perfect heel, because by the time Pillman attacks him, you're just like, fucking get him. You're sitting there and you're outraged, but like, it's like, oh, he's such a genius heel. Like, the logical part of me knows he's a genius heel. He's brilliant. He's excellent at what he does. He's top level. But then, like, the emotional part of me is like, he'll just say something and you're still like, fucking just hit him. Which is just, it's exactly what heel work should be. It's horrific, some of the stuff he's saying, but he instantly gets his comeuppance. It's like when he fucking attacked -1 on the Brody Lee tribute show, you know what I mean? A kid whose dad had died days beforehand, and like, he's like, yeah, perfect heel work, but because he gets his comeuppance, it's okay. So yeah, amazing stuff from MJF. The highlight of what was a really stacked and also a really good Dynamite, but I wanted to call out an OG who'd been there for what he'd said. In at number 2, big week on Raw. Okay, there's a lot of different viewpoints on this, so let's talk about it.
I actually didn't know what to put this one in. I didn't know where to put it and say something stupid. This is awesome.
Say how you feel.
So like, what you call it? I put it in This Is Awesome because at the end of the day, it's Big E winning his first world title. I feel like it would be a bit harsh to put that and say something stupid, regardless of the good or bad from it. I'm going to take out the notes app like a professional, because I've got a list of things that I thought were wrong with it. First and foremost, right? I thought him turning around and being like on Twitter, I intend on cashing in this evening, was very, very desperate. It was Raw being like, please watch the show, something's gonna happen. I won't say what it is, it's Big E cashing in, I won't say what it is, but please watch the show, you're gonna like it. I thought that was desperate, it took away the element of surprise, you know what I mean? That's the whole fun of Money in the Bank's happening out of nowhere, and you're like, holy fuck, you know what I mean? That kind of, I was like, wait, they just spoiled it, like, you know what I mean? Just fucking ruined it, like, for no reason.
Ways you could have done it as well, like where you could have put it in our head, where Big E could have been like, I'm heading to Raw to hang out with my boys in the New Day, just gonna hang around, see how it is, I might keep an eye on the title match. You could have said that, and it's like, we've seen enough Money in the Bank people to know that's probably bullshit, or he may not, we don't know, but now he's like, I 100% will, this is happening.
I liked it.
Okay.
Nerd.
It made me watch Raw. Like, how many other people like me that were like, okay, I guess I'm watching Raw this week. Now, I only watched the last 20 minutes of Raw, don't get me wrong. Fair. I wasn't subjecting myself to the rest of it.
Fair.
But yeah, maybe.
Well, you didn't really watch it then, did you? Just watched the end of it, which you probably would have seen in clips anyway on social media.
No, right? Because here's the issue. Me and Phil were going to watch it in clips on social media the next day, but the video WWE put out cut out the actual match part.
Yeah.
So they showed him coming to the ring with the briefcase, and then they showed him. They didn't even show the 3 count.
No, they showed the end of the 3 count, so that's how I saw this.
Yeah, and him holding the briefcase. So I had to actually go and like actually watch the last 20 minutes of Raw to see how the cash-in actually unfolded.
Well, you know, if you had have chosen Monday Night Raw in the draft, you could have watched all 3 hours in its entirety.
I mean, I'm still allowed to watch Raw.
But, like, you could enjoy it all 3 hours, you know what I mean? It would have forced you to watch it spoiler-free, and you'd have enjoyed the excellence that is Monday Night Raw.
What else was good in the 3 hours?
Anyway, so let's go back to it. One thing I really didn't like about this as well is that, like, there's actually a really cool story here, right? Like, Bobby Lashley beat the fuck out of Kofi Kingston only, like, what, a month ago or 2 months ago, Money in the Bank. Big E coming in, getting his revenge and being like, that's why I'm going after you, because you fucking, you know what I mean? Like, I was going to stay on SmackDown with Roman and Brock, but you fucking did that with Kofi, so now I'm going to take your title. Didn't mention it once. I'm like, instead, I woke up to a tweet from Roman going, smart decision, and MVP going, you're just ducking Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar and you coming over here to think Bobby Lashley's a pushover. And I'm looking at that, I'm like, yeah. This made him look like a bitch, man. This made him look like he ran scared from Reigns and Lesnar, and he went after Lashley because Lashley's in his 40s and he figured this is his best chance of getting a title. It's smart. I'm not saying anything wrong with it, but it's a very kind of like heel sort of move, you know what I mean?
But also as well, like, if I was Lashley, I'd probably sack MVP off the face again. Because it's like, you just went after him because he's shit! You don't want to go after the fucking real wrestlers on SmackDown. You went after the shit wrestler, him, my friend Lashley, the shit Lashley. We all call him Bobby Shit Wrestler Lashley when he's not around.
You decide to go after the B champion. Like, what? Is what you think. But it did. It's kind of a big. I'm not saying like ruined Big E. It just made him look like a bit of a bitch. You know, just I don't know. Again, they could have had him go after Lashley on Raw, switch brands, and go after title, and made him look cool. But they just decided to not really tell the story. They should have, they should have given him, like, in my opinion, if you're gonna do like the intentionally cashing in stuff, like, make a big thing of it. Do it like at WrestleMania. Make it feel like a big moment. My issue with this is I don't trust them at all with this. I feel like this was them. Like, I have no problem usually with, like, you know, hot shotting, or that's what all the cool kids call it. You know what I mean? Like just throwing things at the wall straight away, big moves. I actually don't mind it. So I'm like, well, shit's happening. It's fun. It's entertaining. But like with Big E, I was really looking forward to his world title run and his world title moment. You know, it's big sort of. This didn't really like feel like that. You know what I mean? This felt very rushed, and it was kind of like it reminded me a bit. I don't get me wrong, it was a cool moment when Becky Lynch, you know, won both the titles at WrestleMania and whatever. But the match, like her better moment was the Royal Rumble win, because that was the more kind of come on. Yeah, you know what I mean? Whereas, like, with her WrestleMania match, the way she won it, I actually remember watching it in Buskers, it was kind of just, it was shit, it was just 1, 2, 3, like, oh, yay, you know?
It was a botch though as well, like, that wasn't meant to be the finish.
But it reminds me though, because we sort of looked at it and went, oh, yay, it was kind of like, it was more sort of like, I'm not elated, I'm just happy, you know what I mean? Like, that's what this felt like, where it's kind of like, I should be going, fuck yeah, but I'm just sort of like, good for him, you know what I mean? It was a bit anticlimactic, you know what I mean? I'm kind of like, this is sort of, although I hate ripping into, because on paper it's like I should be happy, but I'm just like, I don't know. Another negative, I don't know. I won't rip into Lashley losing the title. That's another reason why I'm a bit kind of
Yeah.
But he did, you know, he made it to WrestleMania as champion. He made it to SummerSlam as champion.
Mm-hmm.
He beat Drew. He beat Goldberg. He beat Orton. And that's a positive I would actually like to include. He beat Randy Orton fair and square. Just fucking speared his guts onto the floor. I love that.
He's still very strong here.
Yeah. That's the one. That's the one positive actually that I take from it, is that it wasn't like, you know, Big E just came up before the match and was like, I'm gonna win this now. He went after the wounded animal. You know what I mean? So I appreciate that aspect. What's that?
Fireworks.
Oh.
You didn't even tell it. You can't. That can't be new to you.
I just thought somebody was coming in there. I was like, okay, cool. Anyway, just thought, like, there's somebody breaking in there. They weren't like paying attention. They heard like me talking how much I love Lashley, and they were like, oh, for fuck. They just came upstairs like, are you messing? It's like, how did you even get in? Anyway,
it's the third wrestling podcast I've broken into today.
Yeah, like, this is the one now that's made me have to show myself. What is this?
Also as well, like another good positive point for Lashley, he basically has now got away with bashing Goldberg's kid.
I know.
Like, Goldberg never got his revenge. Like, that was all like presumably building to the Saudi Arabia show.
No, I think that's still happening. I think in the rematch, Goldberg is going to screw over Lashley. And we're going to get Lashley and Goldberg in a non-title fight, which isn't great because that means Goldberg might win. So that's a negative. But again, that's for down the road. We'll wait till we get to that point. We can still get Lashley Lesnar. I mean, it's not happy for a title, but I really wanted it to be. I wanted Lashley to take it to Mania against Lesnar. That's what I wanted to see. But again, that aspect of it isn't the worst. Big E is someone I want to see get a moment. The positives is that, you know, it's noteworthy. It's entertaining. I mean, you can't say it was like, what I hate about Raw is when it's boring or when it's cringy. I want it to be, you know, fun, or significant, entertaining, worth watching. You know what I mean? And in fairness, that was, you know what I mean? Like, that was worth watching, definitely. So again, that's another reason I put it in. This is awesome. Things are happening. It's interesting. I don't have any faith in it, but we'll see where it goes. That's basically where I'm at.
Here's also another good thing as well. Like, it's like Raw badly needed something. They needed more. They needed, like, a Big E being out there is a really good, like, he's a really good, interesting person to have. Do you know what I mean? Because it was the main event scene was starved. It's like, Randy Orton's fighting for the title again. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, SmackDown, like, kicks their ass up and down the street for the roster strength. So, like, ultimately, yeah, I think Big E's going to be a great addition to Raw. But I agree, I share your sentiments there, like, the way it happened. And I saw it happen that way through YouTube, where it's simply like, 3, he won! What?
Yeah, so confusing. I was like, Why have they done this?
And that's the thing, I had a tape, but I didn't have time to watch the full Raw, and I kind of knew it had happened, and I was like, nah, watch the YouTube clip, it'll be fun. Even though the YouTube clip is named Big E cashes in and wins the championship, and it's like, let me have a chance to pop here, like. And then they didn't, they literally took it away. And then I'm like, there must have been a bad botch or something. And then you watch it and it's like, no, it's a perfectly valid cash in. There's no reason to hold it.
It was actually a really good cash in.
Yeah.
It's been one of my favourite cash ins in the last few years because there was points where I was actually like, oh shit, they've made this man put on Twitter he's cashing in tonight and now they're gonna have him lose. You know what I mean? Like there was genuine like peril and like it was a really, really good cash in. I thought like I enjoyed it.
To not even show the full 3 count, it's just weird. It's very
That's
weird.
like top level laziness. I appreciate it. To
Yeah,
be honest.
it literally just skips to 3, and it's like, that's it. I'm never gonna let her show that again. In at number 1, though, it was a good week, for a strong week for WWE. So let's talk about the good from SmackDown's return to Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, SmackDown. I enjoyed everything on SmackDown pretty much. I just had a little list up of what happened because I did watch it on Saturday morning.
Whoa!
I know I did just
Live.
That's almost live.
I was gonna attempt it live, then I was like, no,
Nah.
I'm going to bed. We talked about Paul Heyman last week.
Yes.
How good was he this week?
Brilliant.
So like the whole thread weaved through the show of like Brock being at Madison Square Garden, you know, Roman Reigns, you know, believe in Paul Heyman being on his side, but then when they all get confronted in the ring together and all Brock says is like, why didn't you tell him I was at SummerSlam? And it was just like, it's the delicious pettiness I live for in life. And it was just like, no, I think Brock Lesnar speaking is very funny, alright? I don't know why, especially with the way he looks now. I think it's very funny when he talks. Please don't kill me, Brock. But like, it was just like, that's all he needed to say. I don't need Brock Lesnar to come out and cut mad promos, like just little lines like that. And then like, it's so funny, Paul Heyman thinking his bread is buttered with Brock and switching straight away to the Brock intro, you know, but then realising that Brock doesn't want him either, and it's just like he's stuck in the middle. He's a slimy snake oil salesman. He just wants to see like what the best position is to be in, and he just plays that character so well.
He reminds you of like Lord Bayless showing it them, you know what I mean? Like he reminds you of Littlefinger.
Yeah.
But he's not good at it.
Would now be a good time for a Littlefinger impersonation, seeing as I've managed to
The reigning, defending WWE World Champion.
That was worse than I ever
Okay,
thought.
I think we should go back to what you're saying.
You don't put me on the spot.
Sansa, ooh. Brock Lesnar.
Oh my god. I regret everything I've ever done, actually.
Yeah. But also, can we just give some love to Brock Lesnar's new look in general?
Oh yeah.
Absolutely love it.
I'm up
Looks
for
like
doing
a
that every
badass.
week.
Yeah.
I think it looks great.
Yeah. Sexy was a word thrown around. You know. Yeah.
I'm alright with that.
So I just
That is
thought,
a take.
exact question I asked in my group chat. Is Brock Lesnar sexy?
You say it like it's a word thrown around and it's you throwing it around.
Yahoo answers question I've actually ever heard.
Is Brock Lesnar sexy?
It's sexy now. The now is important. Just to imply that you didn't always find Brock Lesnar sexy, because you know MMA shorts with sandwich shops on them is not a look.
No.
So yeah, all that was gold with Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns, and then like you get to the end of the show. Great match between the Usos and Street Profits, and then you get the Demon coming out, which we kind of predicted last week from the lighting and stuff, and like you could tell they were running out of time, because it literally was like, can you just do your entrance on like 2 speed and then get to the ring and then we're gonna cut you. But like, again, I've talked about I love SmackDown for that reason, where there's just always different threads. It's like, do we focus on Brock and Roman? No, we've got the Demon still to deal with, you know, like there's just always, I mean, Big E is out of the equation now obviously, but like there's different threads, and I really love how they do that in SmackDown. We also had Edge versus Rollins, the rematch.
Really good.
Class.
Yeah.
Like such a good match. Like Rollins is definitely Edge's best opponent since he came back. He's just bringing something out of him that is unreal. It was a long match, but like honestly held me for every single second. I know we mentioned the 10-man. I actually like the 10-man tag, and I don't know if you'll agree with me, Rick, but like Phil said, it was kind of like New Japan, as in it's the breeder match, you put all your stars in, they do their spots.
Yeah.
He said like that happens there all the time,
Yeah.
and like I felt there was a place for it because when you've got that kind of big show feel, you want everyone just hitting their spots. You know what I mean? And then.
It was a real booyah match in
Yeah.
Madison Square Garden. Give us we only have a 2-hour show. We're going to give you the names, and it's a good.
Yeah, I liked it.
fun.
I thought compared to the long Edge and Rollins match, it was a nice compliment to it. And then I appreciated the context you sent me for that basketball player.
Yes. Trae Young.
Yeah, but I think even if you hadn't said in that context, I would have kind of got what
Yeah.
was going, and I thought it was very brave of your man to actually show up in Madison Square Garden.
That's what he does though, like Trae Young. So like to kind of give the context to everyone else, Trae Young's a player for the Atlanta Hawks. And then like when the Knicks were good for the first time in years this season, and then COVID was ending and they were opening up and they got to go back to Madison Square Gardens for the playoffs. Trae Young is a young basketball player. He's probably around Corbett Keen's age, you know what I mean? And he doesn't give a shit about their dreams. He reveled in destroying their home. Because like it was real Madison Square Garden, COVID is over, let's all have a fucking party energy. And it was really special. But then Trae Young would just come along and absolutely annihilate them several times. And he didn't give a fuck. He's got balls of steel and he's so actually admirable. But it's a really, I remember saying last week, WWE are really good at getting relevant people now. It's just a random strength that they're after pulling out of their back pocket, and he is so relevant. Even if it's not necessarily carrying over here, it's really good in that arena. As soon as it happened, I was like, fucking genius. It was amazing.
Yeah, like I got the story even though I didn't get the relevance, which I think is really important. And like I love that he showed up. I love that like he got sent to the back, so you're giving the fans comeuppance.
Yeah.
You know, I just thought like that's a really cool thing to have done. Like it's a feel good moment then. Sami Zayn was incredible dealing with the whole thing as well. So I like the 10-man, and I'm glad it was on. And then the last thing I just thought was really, really good was Bianca and Becky's contract signing. Oh, thank God they took that belt off Bianca, because she's been absolute fire ever since it happened. Her promos are another level, and like, even the way she's dressing and carrying herself, there's like that swagger back, where it's just like, it's like she's found herself again. She's not trying to be the people pleasing baby face, you know, this is what I signed on for. She's actually got like a little bit of edge to her again. And Becky just going like full fucking heel now. She is like, that coat's ridiculous, I'm sorry, like. And
but also as well, like I saw a good picture where she's like, this is me, this is who I've always been, you're the ones who are changing. And it's such a good line for a heel because it irritates the fans so much. But then I saw a really good picture of her before COVID where she's in a similar jacket and similar kind of mad things. Like she was actually playing that character, but now it's just slightly changed and everything's slightly different, but it's just benefiting Bianca.
Yeah, I'm so happy with the direction they're going with this feud. I think it completely justifies what happened at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
And I did steal one of Phil's ideas. He said, at least give me credit if you're going to keep stealing my ideas from your podcast. He's like, do you think Bianca beats Becky in less than 26 seconds?
No.
I think it's going to be a full-on match.
Like we'll talk into it. Yeah, no, I think it's going to be a reasonable match. No, I don't think this is the last match. Like right now, and I may change my mind this time next week when we actually preview it, but right now I'm thinking that Becky gets like a roll up, like she'll get a sneaky, like the way you have it.
Oh,
is
is it
Bianca.
alright for Becky to like get roll ups, and it's alright for Bianca to lose?
No, it'll make everyone really pissed off, like, because that's such a shit way to lose. Which is why it's not the end.
How weak must you be to lose by? What are you reading the values?
But like she'll like pull the tights or something like that. You know what I mean? Like this is where she cheats and like she has to devolve more into. She's doing the Roman Reigns style heel turn, and Reigns wasn't a heel straight away. He was just a little bit different, but a lot of the same characteristics, and then it just devolved until like he's in the ring and like you have Afa and Sika putting the thing around him and you're like, something's changed.
He just slowly became like the Mad King, you know?
Exactly. So that's I think where it's going. But it could, I don't know, who knows?
Yeah. But look, as I said, everything was good on SmackDown. You know, it's definitely a show worth watching top to bottom. I'm not sure if there's anything else I've missed out there, but I enjoyed the entire thing.
Yeah, it was a fantastic episode, I have to say. Anyway, guys, big week in wrestling coming up. for me in particular. We've got the G1 starting. We're also going to be running our overall and our daily G1 prediction league. So get involved. It is one of the best things to be involved in the prediction leagues, and it keeps it interesting for you as well if you want to follow along. But like kind of you need a bit of inspiration. So get involved. The main one's going to be on Facebook, and then the daily one is going to be on Twitter as well. Corporate Keen, I have a bit of a bone to pick with you.
Oh.
The vast majority of my YouTube watching these days now is in the gym. Like, I'll watch it on the treadmill. Like, you made an absolute tick of me this morning with your latest video, because I'm panting away. Like, I'm not the fittest guy ever, like, and I'm panting away on the treadmill, but now I'm panting and laughing. So I was like, I look like a little dope. Like, tell everybody about your latest video though.
I figured that as a divorced dad myself, it would be good to get some cameos in from some of the stars to save my marriage and win back my ex-wife. So the goal was Dan Barry 2.0, formerly known as Ever Rise in NXT, and Alabama trampoline wrestling star Christian Archer. The plan was to get them to basically pretend that I was friends with them for a very long time and tell a really, really cool story about me that makes me look impressive, to basically impress my ex-wife Jackie and win her back. And it didn't work, but it was good.
Check it out on YouTube. We'll retweet it as well. And Katie Harvey, a big week over the next few days, because wrestling's coming back. We're getting back to normal in Fight Factory.
Yeah, Fight Factory is reopening after a long, what is it, year 13, 14 months since we've last been allowed open. Yeah, I think so. So yeah, we've 3 beginners courses, Monday evening, Saturday and Sunday. There's only 2 places left on each course. It's nearly completely sold out. So each course is limited to 12 people, just so we can work in pods of 6, keep everything nice and safe. But it is nearly sold out. So if you do want to start wrestling, drop me a message and I will help you.
If you've been sitting there during COVID and thinking, oh, actually, I'm going to give it a go. A lot of people have been reevaluating a lot of things, and you're like, I'm going to give it a go. There's no better place in the country to get started, like in terms of everything, in terms of reputation, where the wrestlers have gone, safeguarding and that side of things as well. Yous are leading the field, like not only in Ireland, but I think like kind of in Europe and a lot of the world. So
also, new full-time coach on board.
Oh,
Justy.
So
So Justy and Phil will be taking the reins on these classes.
Nice.
So I mean, like, how long have they been Titanic champions now? 93 days with 17 defenses behind them. Amazing. So, you know, great trainers to have on your wrestling journey.
You get to be given a nickname by Justy as well. That's a big draw. So you get to, he will, like, I'm not saying that that's like a promise, but like, we know Justy and he'll give you a nickname. So check it out. Check out Fight Factory social media. We've retweeted stuff as well, so you can check it on our socials as well if you want. In the meantime, we'll be back next week previewing Extreme Rules. I'll be talking about the G1, no spoilers, and whatever else has happened as the week goes on. But in the meantime, for Corporate Keen, for Katie Harvey, I've been Rick Nash, and that's the bottom line, because Low Blow said so.